What's up, guys? I'm back with another movie review. This one's from Synapse Films, and it is a early 90s horror movie, Popcorn. This one wasn't real popular at theaters at the time. It kind of grew into becoming a little bit of a cult classic. It's about a group of film students who want to put on a movie marathon, but of course, all they can really afford is kind of like public domain or, B movies, and so they get a collection of three kind of old sci-fi B movies, and they all have like a gimmick attached to them, like the old William Castle movies. One of them's in 3D. One of them has like electric shockers on the seats, and then the last one has like a smell-o-vision gimmick to it. And they also are gonna dress up in costumes and put on little skits, and they got a big mosquito to fly across the audience. Oh, I see my dog back there. Anyway, so it's just kind of like a throwback to the old, showmanship days, something that within the movie people probably haven't seen, in decades. When they're getting it all together, they discover that in like the collection of different gimmicks and film reels they got from a film collector, there's like a sealed film canister in there. It says don't open it, so of course they immediately open it up, and inside there's a there's a movie in there. They put it on there, and it's a really weird. It looks very like homemade, creepy, with a guy talking about how he's the possessor, and then he's like tears his head open, and then he's a skeleton, and they later learn that this movie was made by a guy, Lanyard Gates, and that he didn't have an ending to the movie on the reel because he acted it out 15 years ago, and once the film was over, he tried to kill his family on stage. He burnt the theater down. It was like a huge, gigantic, horrific incident. And so, it adds some like creepiness to their whole, movie marathon presentation. At the same time, there's a girl in the film group who is having these vivid nightmares that are actually very similar to what's happening in The Possessor. And she quickly becomes convinced that there's more going on here than, just a silly movie marathon. And then the story's just, is she right? What's happening? And if something's going on, what's the real story behind it? Is Lanyard Gates still alive, or is she just hallucinating? This is a pretty fun movie. I love B movies. I love old school B movies, so I love this. The ones that they have, like the movies within the movie, are fictional ones, but they're super cool. I would love to watch, especially like Mosquito and the Amazing Electrified Man. I would love to watch those movies for real. I think they look so cool. They're really well done. They capture the feel of those movies. The gimmicks are definitely like a throwback to William Castle and the old like showmanship days of taking a movie from town to town, which of course that kind of stuff would never happen now with all the lawsuits and snowflakes in the world. But it's just cool to get that like nostalgic B-movie feel and a little bit of that like roadshow flavor. But then there's also like a pretty competent horror movie in here where we have this mysterious person, killing these people in very creative ways. And so I think it works as a horror movie and it works as a nostalgia piece. I think both elements of the movie work really well. And I think it's a really solid, it's a really solid horror movie in my opinion. I do think that it doesn't have a lot of gore, which is going to upset some people, but it may not have like bloodshed, but it has some really cool effects in it. It's got like face stretching and face replacement, and then the bad guy has like this disgusting looking hideous stapled face. A guy in a wheelchair gets electrocuted to death. There's a giant mosquito that impales a guy. There's just some really cool gore in this. One girl's dead, and the bad guy's like using her as like a puppet and like talking for her, like Weekend at Burning her. It's got some really cool effects in it, but again, it's not a blood-soaked slasher. It definitely is. It's not a horror comedy, but it does have a lot of comedy in it. It's definitely a horror movie first and foremost, but it does have a decent amount of humor in it as well. I think it's a really fun movie. The performances are good. It's got, the bad guy is appropriately like over the top, and he of course does over the top bad guy monologue at one point. I just think it's really solid. It may not be like one of the best, horror movies from that time, but I think it's definitely solid, and it's easy to see why it developed, a cult following. The Blu-ray from Synapse Films. I think this is a new 2K scan. And it's got like a ton of extras, audio commentary, an almost hour-long documentary that goes really in-depth on the movie. And then it's got interviews, TV spots, trailers, stuff like that. It's a really solid disc. This is the regular Blu-ray version. There's also a limited edition steelbook if you're interested in that. I think you have to get that through synapsefilms.com, or maybe Diabolic DVD still has some of them. So it's up to you. It's quite a bit more. I think this one's like under 20 bucks, close to like 15, and the Steelbook is like almost 50. So it's up to you which one you would rather have. Obviously, if you're like a hardcore collector, you may want the Steelbook, but it's nice to have the options. And other than just the packaging, this is the same. You know, the transfer is the same, the extras are the same, so that's nice. If you like this review, please do check out my website, markfusion.com. I got a ton of other cult horror, exploitation, black exploitation, chick exploitation, like Lifetime movies, all kinds of stuff on there. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at markfusion. Please do drop a sub if you like these videos. It would greatly help me out. And that's it. Thanks a lot for watching these videos, and hopefully I'll have another one up soon.